the Senators are in a bit of a slump, shall we say, Yorkie. 5 straight losses now. There's lots of disgruntled people on social media. People want change. Do they need to have a different voice?
It's still way too early, and I know people, and this is the problem when you say some things in the summer, and I'll go back to this. People have to remember what was talked about this summer. Everybody wants playoffs, and I think the main thing I got from all the talks from Pierre Dorian, from players, was that this team wants to be in the mix come March. They don't want to be, hey, we're February and we're all of a sudden have no hope of making the playoffs. It's not at that point right now for the Ottawa Senators. Sure, the start hasn't been great, but I'll look at, I could probably only put my finger on 2 games where I can say, hey, this team needs change. And that was the Florida game and that was the Tampa game. But besides that, Wally, I don't think they've been that bad, especially last game against Philadelphia. I watched that game from start to finish. That game could have went either way. They just couldn't put the puck in the net. They made some mistakes, but they didn't make those mistakes you saw in the Florida and the Tampa game. So I'm a big believer. We talked about this last week on the 20 game mark. I know people are worried, oh, by the 20 game mark, this team could be out of it. I think it's still too early. You got to reassess things. And honestly, the only time you really have to get rid of your coach right away is when the team has quit on the coach. When I watch this team right now, they haven't quit on DJ Smith, and I don't know about you, Wally, but it's not a lack of effort. It's some key mistakes here or there. Some key guys aren't scoring right now, and don't forget the number 1 center is out of the lineup, and your best shutdown defenseman in Artem Zub has been out of the lineup as well. You got Cam Talbot back as well, so I want to see where this team's at with Zub back in the lineup, because the defense as is. Just isn't it, just on paper and on the ice, it's not good enough. So you get Zub back into the lineup. Let's see where they're at. But with DJ, way too early to be talking about firing him right now.
And I want to get back to the D in a second about JBD more specifically. But when you talk about the losses, all 5, if you take away empty net goals, 6 of the 7 losses, in fact, have been 1-goal games. So they're in the games for the most part. They're just making some minor mistakes. Yeah. Which could be the other way. So is there too much panic, I guess, in the system when we forget they did win 4 in a row? It wasn't that long ago. And everybody was like, hey, everything is great again. And now it's a 5-game losing streak. And everybody's like, okay, we need to get rid of everybody.
Yeah. Well, I know I said the 20 game mark. And we're going to keep hearing this too, that every time there's another game, especially when you're under 500 like the Sens are right now, is this game Tuesday night against Vancouver. It is an enormous hockey game for the Ottawa Senators. They're at home. They're playing a team that's in their weight class that on paper they should be able to beat. I know no game's easy in this league, but let's see where they're at Tuesday and go from there with the Ottawa Senators. And like I said, that a lot of good things, a lot of grade A opportunities against Philadelphia. What's the power play? 0 for 11 in their last 11 attempts. That's the one thing the one thing I'm kind of concerned with about the Ottawa Senators. And I'll go back to last year. One thing I loved about this team was the power play. I thought they were really onto something last year, especially late in the season, when you had everything just seemed to be clicking on the power play. Norris was in his spot. You had Bathurst in the bumper, Stutzla on that other flank, Brady, Tkachuk in front of the net, and Shabbat. And I know everybody loved the DeBrincat move. I think Alex DeBrincat is a fantastic hockey player. I think he's scored 40 goals. But when you bring a guy like that into the fold, if you want him to score at the same clip he's always scored at, he's got to start every power play. He's got to get the majority of the good looks on the power play, because that's where this guy makes his living. And not that I was scratching my head when they made this trade, but I'm like, okay, right away I'm saying to myself, this is going to be not tough for DJ, but he's really going to have to manipulate how he does things, because he's going to have to figure out a way how to get DeBrincat his looks on the power play. And he's become a little bit of a topic right now because he only has 2 goals. And you look at every single goal scorer in the league right now, Wally, they get the first looks on every power play. They get that minute and 30, minute and 40 sometimes, and then you get your second unit. DJ will never admit this. The players will never admit this, but it is really difficult to run a team with a 1A and a 1B power play. I was a power play guy, normally on the second unit, which means you get 20, 25 seconds. So if people are wondering why DeBrincat only has 2 goals, that's one of the main reasons. It's early on in the season, he wasn't starting power plays. Sometimes he would, but that's tough for a coach, Wally. And people might think, it's great. It's great to have options. It's awesome to have a 1A and a 1B. Well, talk to me if this team keeps losing and all of a sudden DeBrincat still has 2 goals. It's not going to be so great. And I know now with Norris out of the lineup, it's become a little easier to manage those power plays. But to me, that's a reason so far why he has 2 goals. And it's not DJ's fault. It's not a coaching's fault. It's just in the summer, you brought in more offense. You brought in DeBrincat. You brought in Giroux. I love the Giroux move, but you didn't address the major need, which this team needs, defensemen. And I know they don't grow on trees. Maybe that move wasn't there. Maybe that player wasn't there. But here we are. What are we talking about? The first little bit of the season here. They need defense.